And I'm also thinking that a lot of what I might perceive as sweetness may be just coming from the ripe fruit character. And that's something just to be aware of when you're doing blind tastings. If you do detect sweetness, in addition to residual sugar, that sweetness can come from wines that have higher alcohol. And I don't think that's the case with this wine, but another indication of sweetness from wine besides alcohol and sugar is from fruit that is just smells ripe and almost tricks your mind into thinking that there's some sweetness in the wine, even though there's no measurable residual sugar. So I have that sense about this wine. It just has a very ripe fruit character that makes it taste almost sweet, but it's not. And then it's got medium plus body. Again, comparing it to the Provence Rosé, it's got a little bit more body. Flavors are similar that we found on the nose, and then a nice medium plus finish. Given that this wine has a little more intensity than our Provence Rosé, with our Blick formula, balance, length, intensity, and complexity, it has three of those components. It has balance, it has intensity, and it has complexity. So that would classify this as very good. And again, lovely to drink now, but not suitable for further aging. I would drink this wine over the next year simply because that bright, fresh fruit character is really enticing, very pleasurable. And I hate to lose any of that, which even after a year in the bottle, that will slowly begin to fade off into the sunset. And I like it while it's young. Okay, so with that, here are the options for what this wine is. Is this a Cabernet Rosé from South Africa? Is it a Grenache Rosé from Australia? Is it a Rioja Rosato, obviously from Spain? Or is it a Rosé of Sangiovese from California? Lots of fruit in this wine, good acidity, maybe slightly round from just a hint of residual sugar. And delicious. How are the votes looking, Christian?
And they're coming in here. We have a couple of votes for C, B, couple for D, 4 for D so far. Yeah, so that's what we have from the audience so far.
Okay. Yeah, there's a couple clues here. One, I'll just go back to the note again just to point out a couple things. One is just the ripeness, the intensity that I talked about, kind of pushes it more to a warmer climate, or maybe at least maybe a New World region. And then it also has some pretty good acid too. And so if you're looking at the Cabernet Sauvignon from South Africa, it could be that. I mean, they do generally make wines sort of in a modern way, but a lot of times I get a sense that South African wines have 1 foot in the old world and 1 foot in the new world. But Cabernet does have good acidity, so that's a possibility. Australia does have a lot of upfront fruit in their wines. And the rosés from Grenache, generally the rosé or Grenache grape doesn't have a particularly high acidity, although they can adjust it, but the acid may be not as high as medium plus. With Rioja, you tend to get sometimes depending on the producer, if they're using predominantly Grenache or Tempranillo, generally those are not high acid grapes. So again, maybe leaning away from that a little bit. And this wine seemed to be very, very fruit driven, maybe not quite matching up what you might see in an old world traditional winemaking place like Rioja. And then you have Sangiovese from California, which obviously it's an Italian variety, but it does have good acidity. So with all that, the answer is, this is my new find for the summer months. It's the 2020 Alexander Valley Vineyards Rosé of Sangiovese from Sonoma.